Master Your Emotions by Thibaut Meurisse. Have you ever felt like a prisoner to your emotions? One moment you're full of motivation and clarity, and the next you're drowning in self-doubt, unable to even recognize yourself. You smile in public, pretending everything is okay, while privately you're fighting an invisible storm inside. You want to take control of your life, to think clearly and move forward. But instead, you feel like a puppet pulled by unseen strings, at the mercy of your moods, your thoughts, your past. If that sounds familiar, know this: you're not alone. In fact, millions of people are silently trapped in that same emotional cycle every day, hoping for relief, desperate for answers. We live in an age of emotional chaos. The world is overstimulated, overconnected, and overwhelmingly loud. Notifications, deadlines, opinions, bad news, and pressure come at us like waves in a storm. And beneath all that noise lie deeper wounds, trauma from childhood, fear of rejection, shame from failure, the pressure to always be okay. We're constantly told to be productive, happy, and grateful. But no one ever really teaches us how to feel. We're taught how to memorize facts, but not how to manage anxiety. We're rewarded for achievements, not for emotional growth. As a result, most people don't master their emotions. They suppress them, avoid them, or explode in ways that damage relationships, sabotage progress, and drain inner peace. We try to fake positivity, but inside, we're tired. And worse, we feel guilty for not being strong enough to fix it. But what if there was another way? What if emotional mastery wasn't just for monks or therapists, but for people like you and me? What if you could finally break the cycle, stop reacting to everything around you, and begin responding with power, presence, and purpose? What if you could feel calm in chaos, clear when others are confused, and strong when everything feels uncertain? That's exactly what Master Your Emotions by Thibaut Meurisse offers. This isn't just a self-help book with empty motivation. It's a powerful, practical guide to help you understand your emotions, take back control of your inner world, and build the kind of emotional resilience that transforms lives. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, frustration, procrastination, self-doubt, or just emotional exhaustion from trying to keep up with life, this book breaks it all down into clear, actionable steps. It shows you how your thoughts are shaping your feelings, how your feelings shape your actions, and how your actions ultimately shape your destiny. And that's what this video is all about. I'll take you deep into the core lessons of Master Your Emotions, walking you step by step through the mindset shifts, tools, and truths that can help you finally become the master of your inner world. No fluff, no surface talk, just powerful insights that can shift your emotional baseline and give you the calm clarity you've been craving. By the end of this video, you'll understand why you feel the way you do, how to break free from emotional spirals, and how to build a stable, grounded version of yourself, one that can handle challenges, stay focused on goals, and create peace even in the middle of life's storms. Because emotional mastery isn't about being perfect, it's about becoming aware. It's about taking back the power you unknowingly gave away to your triggers, your past, and your pain. This could be the beginning of a completely different life. Not because everything around you changes, but because you change. You become unshakable, clear, grounded, free. So, if you're ready to finally stop living at the mercy of your emotions, if you're tired of being stuck in patterns that leave you frustrated and drained, and if you're open to growing into the strongest version of yourself, then stay with me. Because what you're about to learn could shift everything. Let's begin. Part 1. Understanding emotions. Why you feel what you feel. We often see emotions as the enemy, unpredictable, overwhelming, something to be controlled or buried. From a young age, many of us are taught that showing emotions is a weakness. Don't cry. Man up. Calm down. We're told that to be rational is to be right, and to be emotional is to be unstable. And so, we grow up learning to fear our feelings. But the truth is, emotions are not weaknesses. They're messages, clues, guides. And once we understand them, we stop fearing them. Every emotion you experience is your mind's way of communicating something to you. Think of emotions as a personal internal compass. They're there to signal what matters, what hurts, what excites you, what scares you, what needs to change. When you feel joy, it's a signal that your actions are aligned with your values. When you feel anxiety, it might be your mind alerting you to perceived danger or uncertainty. When you feel sadness, it's often a signal that you've lost something important, or that your current reality doesn't match your inner desires. Emotions, in essence, are feedback. They tell you something about your world. Not always something true, but something that feels real based on your inner programming. This leads us to an important realization. What we feel is not always based on reality. It's based on our interpretation of reality. Two people can go through the exact same situation, say a breakup or losing a job, and have completely different emotional responses. One may feel devastated and broken, while the other sees it as a necessary step toward growth or redirection. Why? Because we don't respond to events. We respond to the meaning we assign to those events. Our emotions are a reflection of that meaning. And where does that meaning come from? It comes from our beliefs, our expectations, and our subconscious programming, much of which we didn't even choose for ourselves. The way you were raised, the things you saw and heard as a child, the rules you learned about love, success, failure, and worthiness, all of these formed a mental lens through which you interpret your life. If you grew up with the belief that failure makes you unworthy, then every setback will trigger shame or fear. If you believe that people can't be trusted, then even a kind gesture might spark suspicion or anxiety. You're not feeling these emotions because of what's happening. You're feeling them because of what you believe it means. This is powerful, because it means that emotional mastery is not about controlling what happens around you. It's about understanding and reshaping what's happening within you. Once you realize that your emotional world is shaped by internal narratives, you can begin to rewrite those narratives. You're no longer a victim of your feelings. You're the author of them. Thibaut Meurisse emphasizes that most emotional pain doesn't actually come from the emotion itself. It comes from our resistance to the emotion. When we feel anxiety and try to push it away, we amplify it. When we feel anger and try to deny it, it festers and leaks out in destructive ways. When we feel sadness but pretend to be fine, the sadness doesn't go away. It just hides in the shadows and grows heavier over time. The harder we try to fight our emotions, the more power we give them. But when we allow them, when we make space for them, when we say, "Okay, I feel this, let me sit with it," something profound happens. The emotion begins to shift. It no longer controls you. It communicates with you. Imagine your emotions as visitors knocking on your door. If you slam the door shut and pretend they're not there, they knock louder. If you let them in, sit with them, hear what they have to say, they often thank you and leave. Sometimes they stay a little while, sometimes longer. But they move through you instead of getting stuck inside of you. This is the power of emotional presence. And this is where healing begins. It's also important to understand that emotions are energy, energy in motion. They're not meant to be stagnant. But when we suppress our feelings or avoid expressing them, they don't disappear. They store themselves in our body, in our subconscious, and influence our behavior in ways we don't even recognize. We might lash out at someone we love without knowing why. We might procrastinate for days, not because we're lazy, but because we're emotionally overwhelmed. We might feel chronically tired, anxious, or numb, all signs that we're carrying unprocessed emotional energy. The good news is, once you start seeing emotions as energy, you can learn to move them. You can journal them out, talk them out, breathe them out, cry them out, express them through art, through movement, through conscious awareness. You can begin to live with emotional flow instead of emotional blockage. And this doesn't just bring peace, it brings clarity, confidence, and power. Another thing Meurisse makes clear is that no emotion is wrong or bad. Even the so-called negative ones, fear, anger, jealousy, sadness, serve a purpose. They alert you to what needs healing, what boundaries are being crossed, what dreams are being ignored. Anger can be a catalyst for self-respect. Sadness can be a doorway to compassion. Fear can be a reminder to prepare or protect yourself. Every emotion holds a message. When we stop labeling them as good or bad, and instead listen with curiosity, we begin to reclaim the parts of ourselves we've been taught to reject. This emotional understanding is not just about personal growth, it's about freedom. Because the truth is, when you're emotionally reactive, you're not in control. Other people can push your buttons and dictate your mood. Circumstances can throw you into panic or despair. But when you understand why you feel what you feel, when you become emotionally self-aware, no one can take that power from you. You gain the space between stimulus and response. You gain the ability to pause, reflect, and choose your next move. And that, right there, is the essence of freedom. You don't need to be fearless or unshakable to master your emotions. You simply need to be aware, aware of your inner world, aware of your interpretations, aware of your resistance. Once you step into that awareness, everything begins to shift. You're no longer being swept away by emotional currents. You're learning to navigate them. So, if you've been feeling overwhelmed by your emotions, if you've been judging yourself for being too sensitive, too moody, or too emotional, I want you to remember this. Your emotions are not your enemies. They are messengers, and every message brings you closer to yourself, if you're willing to listen. This is the first and most vital step in mastering your emotions. Understanding why you feel what you feel. Because only then can you begin to shift what you feel and how you live. Part 2. The feedback loop. How thoughts create feelings. Every emotion you feel doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's part of a cycle, a powerful feedback loop that shapes your entire experience of life. It starts with a thought. That thought creates an emotion. That emotion influences how you act. And those actions produce results. Then those results generate new thoughts. And the cycle repeats. This is how we create our reality, moment by moment, day by day. Most people aren't aware that they're caught in this loop. But once you understand it, you can begin to reclaim your power. Let's look at a simple example. Suppose you wake up one morning and think, "I'm already behind. I'll never catch up." That thought might trigger feelings of anxiety, pressure, and self-doubt. That emotional state might cause you to procrastinate, avoid your tasks, or act irritably with others. Those actions, or lack of action, lead to poor results, missed opportunities, damaged relationships, unfinished work. And then you interpret those results as confirmation of your original thought. See, I'm a mess. I can't keep up. And the cycle deepens. This is how emotional patterns are formed. One negative thought becomes a mood. That mood becomes a pattern. That pattern becomes a personality. And before long, you're not just feeling anxious or defeated. You start identifying as someone who is anxious or defeated. As Thibaut Meurisse writes, what you repeatedly think, you eventually feel. And what you repeatedly feel becomes your identity. Your identity is not fixed. It's the product of thousands of moments where you thought the same thought, felt the same emotion, and acted in the same way. But here's the beautiful truth. Just as you created this loop unconsciously, you can break it consciously. You can change your thoughts, shift your emotions, act differently, and begin a whole new cycle of experience. The first step? Self-awareness. You must learn to observe your thoughts, not believe every one of them. Just because a thought shows up in your mind doesn't mean it's true. Your mind is constantly generating content, much of it influenced by fear, old beliefs, past experiences, and external pressures. If you don't learn to filter your thoughts, they will define your emotional life, and eventually, your entire reality. This is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to your present moment experience without judgment. When you're mindful, you begin to notice the thoughts passing through your mind, like clouds drifting through the sky, instead of getting caught up in them. You might notice, oh, I'm thinking I'm not good enough again. Or, there's that fear of failure showing up. The moment you see the thought clearly, you create space between you and the thought. And in that space, you find power. That space is the difference between reacting and responding. When you react, you're on autopilot. You let the thought take control. You let the emotion dictate your actions. But when you respond, you pause. You breathe. You choose. You don't push the emotion away. You acknowledge it. But you don't let it drive the car. You take the wheel. This is emotional mastery in action. Let's go back to our example. You wake up and think, I'm already behind. I'll never catch up. But this time, you're mindful. You notice the thought and pause. You remind yourself, that's just a thought. It's not a fact. You take a deep breath. You ask, what's one thing I can do right now to move forward? That single moment of awareness breaks the cycle. You move into action. You get something done. You feel a bit more in control. That creates a new result. And that result generates a more empowering thought. Maybe I can handle this. The loop begins to work for you, not against you. The power of this loop cannot be overstated. It explains why some people stay stuck in patterns for years, not because they're weak or broken, but because they've been running the same mental and emotional script on repeat. And it also explains how transformation happens, not in giant leaps, but in small, conscious shifts. One thought, one emotion, one action at a time. Meurisse encourages us to become detectives of our inner world. Start tracking your patterns. Notice what kinds of thoughts trigger negative emotions for you. Is it perfectionism, fear of judgment, a scarcity mindset? Do you often think, I'll never be good enough, they don't really care, or I always mess things up? Each of these thoughts, repeated often enough, becomes a lens through which you view life. But the moment you become aware of the lens, you can question it. You can ask, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is this the truth, or just an old fear playing out again? This kind of self-inquiry is not just mental, it's emotional liberation. The truth is, most of our thoughts are not even ours. They're inherited, conditioned, picked up from childhood, society, media, and past experiences. When you begin to challenge them, you're not just changing your thoughts, you're reclaiming your freedom. You're creating a new loop, one that starts with empowering thoughts like, I am learning, I'm allowed to grow, or I can handle this. These thoughts generate calm, confidence, and clarity. That emotional state leads to better decisions, better actions, better outcomes. And those outcomes reinforce the belief that you are capable, resilient, and worthy. This doesn't mean you'll never have negative thoughts again. The mind will always produce them. That's its nature. But mastery comes from knowing you don't have to believe everything you think. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And that awareness gives you choice. And choice is freedom. A practical way to break the loop is to create what Meurisse calls thought interruption practices. When you catch yourself spiraling in negative thinking, use a simple phrase to disrupt the pattern. Something like, stop, breathe, choose. Or, this is just a story, not the truth. Even standing up, moving your body, or taking a few deep breaths can interrupt the emotional charge and give you a fresh perspective. Over time, these small habits rewire your brain. They train you to respond, not react. And that changes everything. So, if you've been feeling stuck in cycles of stress, self-doubt, or overwhelm, I want you to hear this. You're not broken. You're just caught in a feedback loop you didn't realize you were in. And now that you see it, you can change it. Thought by thought, feeling by feeling, choice by choice. You are more powerful than your patterns. You are not your past, and your emotions are not permanent. With self-awareness, mindfulness, and intention, you can create a new loop, one built on truth, courage, and self-compassion. And that loop will lead you not just to emotional mastery, but to a life that feels deeply, authentically yours. Part 3. The Power of Acceptance. We spend so much of our lives running from our feelings, pretending, suppressing, avoiding, numbing. We say, I'm fine, when we're not. We distract ourselves with food, scrolling, work, or even toxic positivity, all in an effort to avoid one uncomfortable truth. We don't want to feel what we feel. But here's the paradox. The more you resist a negative emotion, the stronger it becomes. What you suppress doesn't disappear. It festers, it grows in the dark, and it finds a way to express itself through anxiety, burnout, anger, or depression. Thibaut Meurisse offers a radical yet simple insight. You can't heal what you refuse to feel. Acceptance is the key to emotional freedom. Not the passive kind of acceptance that says, oh well, I guess I'm stuck with this, but the empowered kind. The kind that looks your emotions in the eye and says, I see you, you're allowed to be here, you don't control me, but I won't deny you either. Acceptance doesn't mean you love what you're feeling. It means you allow it. You make space for it. You stop fighting it. And in that moment, something shifts. When you stop resisting an emotion, you stop feeding it. You rob it of its intensity. You see it for what it is. Energy, a temporary state, a wave passing through. When you allow the wave to come, peak, and crash without panicking, you realize it was never as dangerous as your mind made it out to be. Let's say you're feeling overwhelmed. The typical reaction might be to push that feeling away. I shouldn't feel this way. I have things to do. I need to get over it. But what happens? The emotion gets louder. Your body tenses up. Your mind races. You feel stuck. That's resistance. But what if you tried something different? What if you paused and said, this is overwhelm. I feel tight in my chest. My breathing is shallow. My mind is cluttered. And that's okay. You don't analyze it. You don't fix it. You notice it. This is the heart of mindfulness and acceptance. Observation without judgment. You become a witness to your internal experience rather than a victim of it. You realize, this emotion is here, but it's not who I am. And in that realization, the emotion begins to loosen its grip. Meurisse emphasizes that emotions are like visitors. They come and go. When you slam the door in their face, they keep knocking. But when you open the door, let them in, and offer them a seat, they often don't stay long. They just needed to be acknowledged. Just like a child having a tantrum. The moment you kneel down and say, "I see you're upset," the intensity often drops. Your emotions are no different. They just want to be felt. We live in a culture that glorifies control and productivity. There's little space for slowing down and feeling. But emotional mastery doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. And surrender doesn't mean weakness. It means strength. It takes courage to sit with sadness. It takes strength to feel anger without exploding. It takes wisdom to allow fear without letting it dictate your choices. That's real emotional power. One of the reasons we resist emotions is because we're afraid that if we let them in, they'll consume us. We fear the pain will be too much, that we'll spiral, or that we'll never come out the other side. But the opposite is true. Emotions that are allowed to move through you move on. They don't linger when they're honored. They become like passing weather, intense at times, but temporary. Try this simple practice the next time a difficult emotion shows up. Pause. Close your eyes. Name the emotion. Not the story behind it, just the emotion. Sadness, fear, anger, shame, guilt. Then ask yourself, where do I feel this in my body? Maybe it's a knot in your stomach, a tightness in your chest, a lump in your throat. Bring your attention there. Breathe into it. Don't try to change it. Just be with it. Offer yourself compassion. It's okay to feel this. This too will pass. This simple act of mindful presence can shift everything. Meurisse reminds us that emotions are not problems to be solved. They are experiences to be felt. And feeling doesn't mean wallowing. It means being honest. It means creating space. It means trusting your capacity to be with your full humanity. Not just the pleasant parts, but the painful ones too. Because here's the truth. Your emotions don't make you weak. They make you whole. Every time you feel deeply and stay present, you reclaim a piece of your power. Acceptance is not the end of the journey. It's the doorway to transformation. When you accept an emotion, you begin to understand it. You see what it's trying to teach you. Anger might reveal a boundary that's been crossed. Sadness might show you something you deeply value. Fear might be pointing toward a growth opportunity. All of these emotions, when held with care, become guides. They lead you to deeper self-awareness, greater resilience, and profound healing. So stop fighting your feelings. Start listening to them. Let them speak, not to shame you, but to show you. Your emotions are not enemies. They are messengers. And when you learn to accept them, to welcome them, to feel them fully without judgment, you unlock a kind of peace that no external circumstance can touch. Because the truth is, emotional mastery doesn't mean never feeling pain. It means no longer being ruled by it. It means standing in the storm and knowing, this too will pass. And I will still be here, whole, strong, and free. Part 4. Clean your mental filter. Imagine walking through life wearing a pair of red-tinted glasses. Everything you see, every face, every building, every tree, appears red. After a while, you forget you're wearing the glasses. You start to believe that the world is red. You mistake your filter for the truth. This is how most people live, not seeing reality, but their interpretation of it, not responding to what is, but to what their mind projects. That internal filter, shaped by past experiences, childhood conditioning, emotional wounds, and limiting beliefs, colors everything. Every situation, every emotion, every decision. And unless we learn to clean that lens, we keep reliving the same patterns over and over again. Thibaut Meurisse teaches that emotional mastery begins with mental clarity. You can't fully master your emotions if you're still operating with a distorted internal map. If your beliefs tell you, "I'm not good enough," then every rejection will feel like confirmation. If your subconscious whispers, "People can't be trusted," you'll find betrayal in every harmless mistake. Your thoughts become self-fulfilling prophecies. Your life begins to reflect the lens, not the truth. But here's the powerful insight. That lens is not fixed. It can be cleaned. Your beliefs can be challenged. Your inner dialogue can be rewired. The brain is plastic. It adapts, reshapes, relearns. And when you clean the mental filter, your emotions begin to change automatically. Life starts to feel lighter, calmer, more under your control. Because now, you're not reacting to illusions. You're responding to truth. So how do you clean your mental filter? The first step is awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of. Start noticing your inner voice. What are the recurring thoughts you tell yourself? I always mess up. They probably don't like me. I'll never succeed. These may seem harmless, but they act like viruses in your operating system. Each time you think them, they reinforce a belief. That belief shapes your feelings, and those feelings drive your behavior. Now take it a step further. Question those thoughts. Don't assume they're true. Ask yourself, is this thought 100% true? Where did it come from? What belief is it feeding? How would I feel if I didn't believe this? This simple practice, borrowed from cognitive behavioral therapy and echoed in Meurisse's teachings, can dismantle decades of mental programming. It doesn't happen overnight, but it works. Every time you challenge a limiting belief, you weaken its grip. You begin to see the cracks in the lens. Light starts to come through. Journaling is a powerful tool for this process. When thoughts stay in your head, they feel real. But when you write them down, you gain perspective. You create distance. You see the patterns. You begin to understand that your thoughts are not you. They are just thoughts. And like clouds in the sky, they can pass without defining the day. Try this exercise. Each morning, write down the first 5 thoughts that come to mind. Then, beside each one, write, what is this thought trying to tell me? Is it useful? Is it true? What would I rather believe instead? You'll begin to see how your mental filter has been shaped. Maybe you'll notice a fear of failure that's kept you stuck, or an old wound from childhood that whispers, you're not worthy, or a scarcity mindset that says there's never enough love, time, or money. These aren't truths, they're stories. And the moment you see them as stories, you regain the power to rewrite them. Cleaning your filter is also about healing emotional residue. When you carry unprocessed pain, it distorts your perception. If someone hurt you years ago, you might project that pain onto new relationships. If you failed in the past, you might expect failure now. The pain hasn't gone. It's just hiding in the lens. But healing doesn't happen by pretending it's not there. It happens by facing it, by feeling it, by releasing it. Forgiveness of others and of yourself plays a big role here. It doesn't mean forgetting. It means letting go of the story that keeps the pain alive. When you forgive, You remove a smudge from your lens. You begin to see with clarity. You create space for new beliefs, new patterns, new outcomes. Another part of cleaning your filter is choosing new thoughts, intentionally. If you've believed "I'm not lovable" for years, it's not enough to disprove it. You need to replace it. Choose a new belief. I am enough. I bring value. I deserve love. At first, it might feel fake, but with repetition, it becomes familiar. Then natural. Then true. The brain accepts what it hears repeatedly, and your new belief begins to form a new emotional reality. The beauty of this process is that the external world doesn't have to change for you to feel better. You change. Your filter changes. And suddenly, the same situation that once triggered anxiety or anger now feels manageable, even peaceful. That's the power of inner work. You begin to respond to life with wisdom instead of wounds. Thibaut Meurisse's message is clear. You are not doomed to your old beliefs. You are not broken. You've just been looking through a dirty lens. But that lens can be cleaned. The fog can lift. And when it does, your emotions become allies, not enemies. You see people more clearly. You love more freely. You trust yourself more deeply. So start today. Grab a journal. Question a belief. Breathe into an old wound. Replace a negative thought. And remember, you don't need to fix the world to feel better. You just need to clean the glass through which you see it. Because once you do, everything changes. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Part 5. Motivation and emotional energy. What drives your life isn't logic. It isn't knowledge. It's emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. It's the invisible force behind every action you take and don't take. It's what gets you out of bed in the morning or keeps you under the covers. It's what pushes you toward your goals or paralyzes you in fear. The truth is, your emotional state determines the quality, direction, and momentum of your life. And here's the part most people miss. Emotional energy can be generated. Thibaut Meurisse emphasizes this truth, that we're not victims of our emotional states. We can cultivate them. Just like an athlete trains their body, we can train our emotional system. We can create positive energy on demand. And when we do, motivation becomes a natural byproduct. Productivity skyrockets. Life feels lighter. You no longer wait for the right mood to take action. You create it. Let's begin with the foundation. Energy follows focus. What you focus on emotionally feeds your state. If you focus on what's lacking, what's wrong, what might go wrong, you drain your emotional tank. But if you focus on what's good, what's possible, what's working, your state begins to rise. This is where gratitude comes in. It's not just a feel-good practice. It's emotional fuel. Gratitude rewires your brain to see abundance instead of lack. And it's almost impossible to be truly grateful and deeply anxious at the same time. Start small. Each morning, list 3 things you're grateful for, not as a ritual, but with feeling. Let the warmth of appreciation rise in your body. Let it color your day. It's simple, but it builds the emotional foundation for motivation. Next, consider your purpose. A vague life drains emotional energy. Clarity fuels it. If you don't know why you're doing something, your motivation will always be weak. But when you connect your actions to a meaningful purpose, even the hard days feel worthwhile. Ask yourself, what do I care about deeply? What am I working toward? What would make the struggle worth it? Then visualize it. Don't just think about your goals. See them. Feel them. Engage your senses. The brain doesn't know the difference between vividly imagined success and real success. When you rehearse victory in your mind, your emotional state begins to align with that vision. You become magnetized toward your goal. Resistance lowers. Motivation rises. Meurisse also encourages us to understand that emotional energy is cyclical. No one feels amazing every day, and that's okay. The goal isn't to be hyper-positive all the time. The goal is to manage your state wisely. Some days, you'll have to generate momentum manually. Move your body, breathe deeply, change your posture. Your physiology impacts your psychology. Even standing up straight and smiling for 30 seconds can shift your emotional tone. These aren't gimmicks, they're tools. And don't underestimate the power of emotional hygiene. What you consume, mentally, socially, digitally, affects your emotional energy. Negative news, toxic relationships, cluttered environments, they all chip away at your state. Be intentional. Guard your energy like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Surround yourself with inspiration, with uplifting voices, with beauty, with purpose. Another powerful generator of emotional energy? Progress. When you see movement, no matter how small, you feel alive. Stagnation kills motivation, but a single step forward reignites it. Break your goals into tiny pieces. Celebrate micro wins. Track your growth. Watch how quickly your emotional fire returns. And finally, let go of the myth that you need to feel good to take action. Often, it's the action that creates the good feeling. Motion precedes emotion. Show up before you feel ready. Take the first step. Momentum will take care of the rest. As Meurisse reminds us, motivation doesn't fall from the sky. It comes from within. And you have more power than you think. Your emotional state is not fixed, it's fluid, and it can be mastered. So begin each day by choosing your state. Ask yourself, what emotional energy will serve me best today? Is it confidence, calm, excitement, gratitude? Then find a way to generate it, through focus, movement, purpose, breath, or vision. Because the truth is this, your emotional state is the fuel of your life. Master it, and you become unstoppable. Part 6. Dealing with negative emotions. Negative emotions are not the enemy. They're not flaws to be ashamed of or weaknesses to hide. They're signals, messengers carrying important information about your inner world. Anger might be pointing to violated boundaries. Sadness could reveal loss or unmet needs. Anxiety might signal uncertainty or misalignment. The problem isn't the emotion itself, it's what we do with it. Most people never learn how to deal with negative emotions. They suppress them, numb them, deny them, or, worse, let them spiral out of control. And in doing so, they prolong their suffering. They stay stuck. They become victims of their emotional cycles. Thibaut Meurisse presents a more powerful approach, a practical, compassionate roadmap. Identify, label, accept, express, let go. It begins with identification. You can't heal what you can't feel, and you can't feel what you refuse to name. Most people lump all their inner discomfort under the label bad. But naming the emotion is the first step to disarming it. Are you angry? Frustrated? Jealous? Lonely? Anxious? Resentful? The more specific you get, the more clarity you gain. And clarity is power. Next is labeling. Neuroscientists have discovered something fascinating. When you accurately label an emotion, the brain activity in the amygdala, your fear center, begins to decrease. The very act of putting a name to the feeling creates distance between you and the emotion. It shifts you from being in the storm to observing the storm. You regain perspective. But here's where most people stumble. Acceptance. Once they've named the emotion, They want it gone. Now they try to resist it, push it down, fix it. But the truth is, resistance amplifies pain. What you resist persists. The more you fight the emotion, the louder it screams. Acceptance, on the other hand, softens the edges. It sends a powerful message to your nervous system. It's safe to feel this. Acceptance doesn't mean you like the emotion. It means you stop judging it. You stop judging yourself for feeling it. You stop attaching shame or guilt to the experience. You recognize that emotions are temporary states, not permanent identities. Now comes the crucial step: expression. Emotions are energy, and energy needs to move. Bottled-up emotions don't disappear, they fester. They find unhealthy ways to escape: outbursts, breakdowns, addictions. But when you give emotion a safe and healthy outlet, it transforms. Expression can take many forms. Journaling is one of the most powerful. Write exactly what you're feeling. Raw, unfiltered, unedited. Say what you really want to say. Let the emotion pour out onto the page. Movement also helps. Go for a walk, dance, exercise, stretch. Emotions are physiological, not just psychological. Moving your body helps discharge emotional tension. You can also express through your voice, not by yelling at people, but by speaking to yourself with compassion. Try this. Place your hand over your heart and say, "It's okay to feel this. I'm safe. This will pass." These small acts of self-kindness rewire your relationship with pain. The final step is letting go. Once the emotion has been felt and expressed, don't cling to it. Don't analyze it to death. Don't rehash it over and over. Letting go doesn't mean you erase the memory. It means you release the grip it has on you. It means you stop identifying with the emotion as who you are. One of the most powerful techniques Meurisse shares is the feel it to heal it method. Here's how it works. 1. Find a quiet space. Sit or lie down. 2. Close your eyes and bring your attention inward. 3. Ask yourself, where do I feel this emotion in my body? 4. Focus on the sensation: tightness, pressure, heat, heaviness. 5. Don't label it. Don't judge it. Just sit with it. 6. Breathe into the sensation. Imagine your breath creating space around it. 7. Allow it to exist. Allow it to rise, peak, and dissolve. Like a wave. Most emotional pain only lasts 60 to 90 seconds in the body, if we let it. It's our resistance, fear, and mental spiraling that keeps the pain alive for hours, days, even years. And that brings us to another critical insight. Beware of rumination. Rumination is the mental replay of emotional pain. It's like watching a painful scene from your life on repeat. It drains your energy, deepens your suffering, and traps you in emotional loops. To break free from rumination, interrupt the pattern. Move your body. Change your environment. Ask better questions. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this emotion trying to teach me?" Or, "What do I need right now?" Redirect your focus to action, not obsession. Another tool is emotional scheduling. If you find yourself consumed by an emotion, give yourself permission to fully feel it, but with a time limit. For example, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to be angry. I'll punch a pillow, write in my journal, scream into the void, and then I'll move forward. This gives structure to the chaos. It honors the emotion without letting it hijack your life. One more truth: you don't have to go through this alone. Talk to someone, a friend, a coach, a therapist. Sometimes, just being heard dissolves half the weight. Your emotions are valid, but they don't have to define you. With the right tools, you can feel deeply without falling apart. Remember this: Emotions are temporary, but how you respond to them can shape your entire life. Don't suppress. Don't explode. Process. Feel it. Name it. Express it. And then let it go. Because the real problem is never the emotion itself. It's our fear of it, our avoidance, our resistance. But once you make peace with your pain, you free yourself from its power. And in that freedom, you find healing. Part 7. Emotional Mastery Tools. Imagine if brushing your mind was as normal and habitual as brushing your teeth. Imagine waking up every day not overwhelmed by your thoughts or hijacked by your emotions, but grounded, clear, and in control. That's what emotional mastery looks like. And while it may sound like a distant dream, Thibaut Meurisse shows us it's absolutely possible, through simple, consistent tools and practices that anyone can learn. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing how you feel. It's not about pretending to be calm when you're not. It's about developing the inner capacity to witness, process, and channel your emotions in a way that empowers you, instead of sabotaging you. And to build this capacity, you need tools. Let's explore the ones that truly work. 1. Mindfulness and meditation. Training the inner observer. At the core of emotional mastery lies mindfulness, the ability to observe your internal experience without judgment. When you're mindful, you don't get lost in your emotions. You watch them. You create space between the stimulus and your response. Meditation is the gym for this mental muscle. It's the daily practice that trains you to pause, to breathe, and to observe without immediately reacting. You don't need hours of sitting in silence. Even 5 minutes a day can create profound changes. Here's a basic meditation you can try. Sit quietly and close your eyes. Focus on your breath, the inhale and exhale. When thoughts or feelings arise, don't resist them. Just notice them. Say silently, "This is just a thought," or "This is just a feeling." Gently bring your attention back to the breath. With regular practice, you'll begin to see your emotions as passing weather, not permanent truths. This perspective changes everything. 2. The power of the pause. One of the most life-changing emotional tools is the pause. That tiny space between emotion and reaction is where all your power lies. Most people go from trigger to explosion in seconds, but when you pause, even for 3 deep breaths, you interrupt the automatic cycle. Let's say someone says something that hurts you. Your normal reaction might be to lash out, defend yourself, or shut down. But if you pause and breathe, suddenly you have a choice. You can ask, "What am I really feeling? Is this about them, or something deeper in me? What response would reflect my highest self?" The pause gives you your dignity back. It gives you the chance to respond, not react. And in that space, you reclaim control over your emotional life. 3. Visualization and affirmations. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. That's why visualization is so powerful. When you consistently imagine yourself as emotionally strong, calm, and empowered, you begin to feel that way, even in real-life challenges. Visualization works best when combined with affirmations, short, powerful statements you say to yourself to rewire your beliefs. Here are a few emotionally empowering affirmations from the book's teachings. I am calm, centered, and in control of my emotions. I allow myself to feel, without fear or shame. My emotions are valid, but they don't define me. I choose peace over reaction. I have the power to shift my state at any moment. To practice this, 1. Sit down in a quiet space each morning. 2. Close your eyes and visualize yourself facing challenges with grace. 3. See yourself pausing, responding wisely, letting go. Fourth, say your affirmations out loud or in your mind, with feeling. This creates a new emotional blueprint. Over time, your subconscious will follow it. 4. Daily emotional hygiene. We brush our teeth, wash our faces, and shower daily. But most people never cleanse their mind or emotions. That's why they accumulate emotional dirt, stress, resentment, guilt, frustration, until they eventually break down. Emotional hygiene is the daily practice of clearing your inner world. Here are a few practices to add to your emotional toolkit. A. Journaling. Writing is one of the fastest ways to clarify your feelings. It gets the emotion out of your head and onto paper, where it becomes less scary and more manageable. Try this daily. What am I feeling right now? What triggered this feeling? What do I need in this moment? Don't edit. Don't filter. Just write. This is your emotional mirror. B. Emotional check-ins. Several times a day, pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? Why might I be feeling this? How can I support myself? This builds emotional awareness, and awareness is the first step to change. C. Gratitude practice. Gratitude shifts your emotional baseline. It literally changes your brain chemistry. Each morning or night, write down 3 things you're grateful for and why. Be specific. Instead of, I'm grateful for my family, write, I'm grateful for my sister calling me today when I was feeling low. It made me feel loved. This trains your brain to look for the good, even in tough times. D. Emotional reset rituals. Design rituals to reset your emotional state. For example, a calming walk in nature, a warm shower while imagining emotional weight washing away, listening to a song that uplifts your spirit, breathing deeply for 2 minutes when overwhelmed. These small habits prevent emotional buildup and increase resilience. 5. Environment and input management. Your environment influences your emotions more than you realize. What you watch, read, listen to, the people you surround yourself with, all shape your inner world. Ask yourself, are the people around me emotionally intelligent? Do the shows and content I consume bring peace or chaos? Is my space clean, calming, and inspiring? Mastering your emotions includes mastering what you allow into your mind. Be ruthless about your mental diet. Choose inputs that empower, not drain. 6th anchor, positive states. You can condition yourself to feel calm, confident, or motivated on command. Here's how. 1. Think of a time you felt incredibly empowered or peaceful. 2. Close your eyes and relive it. Feel the emotion fully. 3. As the feeling peaks, squeeze your fist or touch your chest. 4. Repeat this with different positive states. Eventually, that physical cue, like touching your heart, becomes an anchor, a trigger for that emotional state. You can use it during stressful moments to reset instantly. 7. Create a morning emotional ritual. Your morning determines your momentum. Don't leave your emotional state to chance. Start the day by setting your inner tone. Here's a powerful 10-minute emotional ritual. 2 minutes of deep breathing. 3 minutes of gratitude journaling. 3 minutes of visualization and affirmations. 2 minutes of intention setting. How do I want to feel today? This small ritual can create massive shifts in how you experience your day and your life. No one is emotionally perfect. You will still feel anger, sadness, fear. The goal is not to eliminate negative emotions. It's to become so skilled at navigating them that they no longer control your life. Think of these tools as instruments in your emotional toolkit. The more you use them, the more emotionally agile you become. With time, what once triggered you will barely shake you. What once overwhelmed you will become a wave you can ride with grace. And that's the gift of emotional mastery. Not a life free from feeling, but a life where you are free because you've learned to feel. You've learned to lead yourself, to pause, to choose, to rise. That's what Thibaut Meurisse offers in Master Your Emotions. And that's the life you now have the tools to create. Part 8. Build emotional resilience. Life won't stop testing you, but you can get stronger with each test. In a world full of uncertainty, rejection, criticism, and unexpected challenges, emotional resilience isn't just a helpful trait. It's a survival skill. And more than that, it's a gateway to thriving. It's what separates those who break under pressure from those who bend, adapt, and rise stronger than before. Thibaut Meurisse reminds us that emotional mastery doesn't mean avoiding pain. It means developing the inner fortitude to face life's storms without losing yourself. Resilience isn't the absence of emotion. It's the capacity to carry those emotions without being defined by them. Let's explore how to build that kind of unshakable inner strength. 1. Criticism. Turning pain into power. Criticism can feel like a dagger, especially when it touches wounds you haven't healed yet. But here's the truth. Criticism is inevitable. The only way to avoid it is to do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing. And that's not why you're here. To build resilience, you must learn to separate your worth from someone else's words. Their opinion doesn't define you. Your response does. Ask yourself, is this feedback actually useful? Does it reflect me or the other person's limitations? What can I learn from this? The emotionally fragile person internalizes every comment. The emotionally strong person filters feedback like gold panning, keeping what's useful and letting the rest wash away. You don't need to fear criticism. You need to use it. 2. Failure. A step, not a sentence. Failure is not a verdict. It's a process, a lesson, a part of the path. And yet, most people let failure define their identity. One rejection becomes, I'm not good enough. One mistake becomes, I'm a failure. But emotional resilience means breaking that cycle. Here's what Meurisse emphasizes. Failure is feedback. That's all. It's not personal. It's not final. It's not even bad, unless you choose to make it so. Emotionally resilient people see failure as data. They ask, what worked? What didn't? What can I improve next time? They don't collapse at the first obstacle. They regroup, learn, adjust, and try again, with more clarity and strength. Your ability to bounce back is more important than your ability to get it right the first time. Strength comes from falling and rising, not from never falling at all. 3. Rejection. Redirection in disguise. Few things sting like rejection. Whether it's a job you wanted, a person you loved, or an opportunity that slipped away. But if you look closely, you'll see that rejection is rarely a dead end. It's more often a redirection. Resilient people don't internalize rejection as proof of unworthiness. They see it as part of the journey toward something better. They trust that closed doors protect them just as much as opened ones guide them. You don't need to fear rejection. You need to reframe it. It's not, I'm not good enough. It's, this wasn't the right fit, but the right one is still out there. This mindset creates emotional freedom. It lets you take risks, dream big, and move forward, even after hearing no. 4. Discomfort. The gym of emotional strength. Most people avoid discomfort like a disease, but discomfort is the gym where resilience is built. Growth never happens in your comfort zone. It happens when your heart is pounding, your hands are trembling, and you choose to move forward anyway. Whether it's speaking in public, confronting a fear, setting a boundary, or trying something new, every act of courage strengthens your emotional muscles. Here's a truth most people miss. It's not confidence that leads to action. It's action that builds confidence. Resilience is built when you do the hard thing, not because you feel ready, but because you're willing to grow. So when life challenges you, lean in. Let the discomfort shape you. It's molding you into someone stronger than you were yesterday. 5. You are not your emotions. One of the most powerful shifts in emotional resilience is this. You are not your emotions. You feel anxious, but you are not anxiety. You experience sadness, but you are not depression. Emotions are temporary states. They pass through you, but they don't define you. This distinction creates freedom. It gives you space to witness your emotional waves without being drowned by them. Resilient people anchor themselves in their identity, not in their momentary feelings. They know, this is hard, but I'm not broken. I'm growing. They don't let shame, guilt, or fear take the driver's seat. They feel deeply, but still lead with clarity and strength. 6. The stories you tell yourself. At the heart of resilience is narrative. What story do you tell yourself when life gets hard? This is the end, or this is a plot twist. I'm a failure, or I'm in training. Why me? Or what is this teaching me? Emotionally resilient people rewrite the script. They don't lie to themselves with toxic positivity. They face the truth, but they frame it in a way that fuels growth instead of defeat. One powerful practice Meurisse recommends is to ask empowering questions. How is this making me stronger? What new strength is this experience unlocking in me? How can I respond like the person I want to become? This subtle shift can change despair into determination and hardship into heroism. 7th, bounce-back rituals. Resilience isn't just about how much you can endure. It's about how quickly you can bounce back. That's why it helps to create personal recovery rituals. Here are a few to try. After a tough day, take a walk, write in a journal, or call someone you trust. After failure, review what you learned, plan your next step, and affirm your worth. After criticism, reconnect with your values and why you started. These small rituals keep you grounded in truth when emotions try to pull you into distortion. No one is born resilient. It's not a genetic gift. It's a skill, forged in fire, refined by practice, and strengthened by choice. Every time you choose to face discomfort, every time you get back up after falling, every time you tell yourself, I'm not done yet, you build emotional resilience. You become someone who can weather life's storms with courage, someone who doesn't shrink in pain but expands in power. And that's the gift of emotional mastery. Not a perfect life, but an empowered one. One where your emotions are not enemies, but allies. One where every challenge makes you stronger. One where you don't just survive, you rise. You are stronger than you think. And now, you have the tools to prove it. Part 9. Align with your purpose. When you know where you're going, you stop getting emotionally lost in every storm. One of the greatest sources of emotional turmoil is a lack of direction. When your inner compass is spinning, you become vulnerable to every wave of doubt, fear, and frustration. Emotions feel like wild animals, unpredictable and overwhelming. But when you align with your purpose, everything changes. Your emotions gain meaning, your energy sharpens, and your resilience deepens. Thibaut Meurisse emphasizes that emotional mastery is not just about managing feelings in isolation. It's about connecting your emotions to your deeper values and vision. Without this alignment, emotional energy dissipates into confusion, anxiety, or aimlessness. But when your emotions serve your purpose, they become a powerful fuel, propelling you forward through obstacles and uncertainty. 1. The emotional void of aimlessness. People who struggle emotionally often wrestle with an invisible enemy: lack of purpose. This isn't just about having a job or a goal. It's about living with a clear sense of why you do what you do. Without this clarity, emotions become erratic signals rather than meaningful messages. You might feel frustrated, restless, or stuck, not because something is wrong, but because you're not aligned with what truly matters to you. Think about moments you felt most at peace, energized, or fulfilled. Chances are, those moments connected deeply with a value or goal that resonated with your true self. When that connection is lost, emotions lose their direction, and you get caught in reactive cycles. 2. Clarity of values. Your emotional anchor. Values are the invisible compass that guides your emotional experience. When you're clear about what matters most, whether it's honesty, freedom, family, creativity, or growth, your emotional responses become more grounded. For example, if honesty is a core value, you'll feel motivated to act authentically and uncomfortable when faced with deceit. This emotional feedback helps you make choices that align with your true self, reducing inner conflict and emotional chaos. Meurisse teaches that clarifying your values is the first step to emotional alignment. Values serve as anchors, keeping your emotional ship steady in stormy seas. When you know what you stand for, emotions like fear or doubt don't paralyze you. They become signals that invite you to reaffirm your course. 3. Vision. Your emotional lighthouse. While values ground you, vision illuminates your path. Vision is the vivid picture of the future you want to create, the big why behind your daily efforts. Having a clear vision transforms emotions from random waves into directed currents. Challenges become tests, setbacks become lessons, and uncertainty becomes possibility. Imagine a lighthouse shining brightly through the fog. Your vision acts like that lighthouse, cutting through emotional confusion and guiding your decisions with purpose. When your vision is clear, even difficult emotions serve a higher purpose. Anxiety about a deadline becomes urgency to prepare. Frustration with obstacles becomes fuel to innovate. Sadness or loss become invitations to reflect and grow. 4. Passion, the emotional engine. Purpose fuels passion, and passion generates sustained emotional energy. This energy is not fleeting excitement. It's a deep, consistent drive that keeps you moving, even when the path is tough. Thibaut Meurisse highlights that passion is the emotionally charged commitment to something bigger than yourself. It's what turns ordinary effort into inspired action. Without passion, motivation wanes quickly, and emotions can spiral into discouragement. With passion, your emotional energy becomes a renewable resource, powering you through challenges and setbacks. 5. Aligning daily actions with purpose. Emotional mastery involves more than big-picture clarity. It requires daily alignment. Your small actions must reflect your values and vision to maintain emotional balance and momentum. When you consistently take steps aligned with your purpose, you experience positive emotional feedback: pride, satisfaction, confidence. This creates a virtuous cycle, strengthening your emotional resilience and motivation. Conversely, when your actions contradict your values or vision, emotional dissonance builds, leading to stress, guilt, or frustration. Meurisse encourages building habits that reinforce alignment. Regular reflection on your values and vision. Setting goals that resonate deeply with your purpose. Practicing gratitude for progress, no matter how small. 6. Purpose as an emotional compass in storms. Life is unpredictable. Emotional storms will come. But when your purpose is clear, you don't lose your way. Purpose acts as your emotional compass, helping you navigate confusion, fear, and disappointment without losing your center. Instead of reacting impulsively to emotional waves, you respond with intention. You ask yourself, does this serve my purpose? How can I use this challenge to move closer to my vision? What can I learn about myself in this moment? This mindset transforms emotional turbulence into growth opportunities. You learn to weather storms without losing sight of the horizon. Mastering your emotions is not about suppressing feelings or striving for constant happiness. It's about living in alignment with your deepest purpose so that your emotional experience becomes meaningful and manageable. When you anchor your emotions in purpose, you gain clarity, energy, and resilience. You stop being tossed around by every feeling and instead harness those feelings as guides and fuel. So take time to discover what truly matters to you. Clarify your values. Paint a vivid vision of your future. Align your actions with that vision every day. Because when you know where you're going, no emotional storm can make you lose your way. You become unstoppable. Part 10. Becoming the Master. The Emotionally Empowered Life. You were not born to live at the mercy of your moods. You were born to lead your mind, to master your emotions. And when you do, your life will never be the same. Emotional mastery is often misunderstood. It's not about becoming cold, robotic, or detached from your feelings. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending to be unaffected. True mastery is about wisdom. The wisdom to understand your emotions deeply, and control, the ability to consciously choose how to respond rather than react impulsively. Throughout this journey, you've explored the landscape of your emotions, recognizing their signals, understanding the stories your mind tells, embracing acceptance, cleaning your mental filters, generating positive emotional energy, navigating negative feelings, and building resilience and purpose. This path is about reclaiming your inner power. The essence of emotional mastery: awareness, acceptance, action. At its core, emotional mastery unfolds in 3 vital steps. 1. Awareness. You start by shining a light on your emotions, observing them without judgment. Awareness is the foundation of transformation. It reveals the patterns and triggers that keep you stuck in reactive cycles. By recognizing your emotional states, you step out of the fog of unconsciousness. 2. Acceptance. Next, you welcome your emotions with open arms, even the uncomfortable ones. Acceptance is radical. It means saying yes to what you feel, understanding that resistance only fuels suffering. When you stop fighting your emotions, they lose their grip on you. 3. Action. Finally, with awareness and acceptance, you choose your response. You interrupt old feedback loops, challenge limiting beliefs, and align your actions with your highest purpose. This is where true freedom lives, choosing your path despite emotional storms. These 3 steps form a powerful triad. Mastering them leads to emotional intelligence, resilience, and ultimately, empowerment. What could your life become? Imagine waking up each day with emotional clarity. You no longer feel controlled by anxiety, anger, or sadness. Instead, you experience your feelings as messengers, guiding you toward growth and better decisions. Your relationships improve because you respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Your career flourishes because you stay focused despite setbacks. You develop deep self-trust because you've learned to navigate your inner world. Emotional mastery unlocks this transformation. It creates space for creativity, joy, and peace that aren't dependent on external circumstances. You become the captain of your ship, steering confidently through life's unpredictable seas. The power of choice, your mind, your command. Remember, emotions themselves aren't good or bad. They simply are. What matters is the meaning you assign and the power you give them over your life. Emotional mastery means reclaiming choice. It means understanding that you are not a victim of your feelings, but the commander of your mind. With practice, you build the skill to pause, breathe, and decide how to act. This ability turns emotional chaos into calm, confusion into clarity, and reaction into response. You were not born to be a slave to fleeting moods or uncontrollable impulses. You were born to lead your mind, to master your emotions. This mastery is a gift you give yourself, a lifelong skill that transforms every area of your life. As Thibaut Meurisse teaches, mastering your emotions doesn't mean the absence of feelings. It means wisdom, freedom, and power. When you master your emotions, your life changes at the deepest level. You step into your full potential, living with purpose, peace, and unstoppable energy. So take this knowledge, apply it daily, and watch as your world shifts. Your emotions become allies, your mind becomes your sanctuary, and your life becomes a masterpiece of emotional empowerment. Because mastering your emotions is not just a skill, it's your birthright. If this video helped you understand your emotions better, please hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear, what's the one emotion you struggle with the most? And after watching this video, what's one thing you plan to do differently to master it? Don't forget to subscribe for more life-changing content like this.